This is the review for Chapter 2. So this review is very similar to what you're going to see on your test. So I suggest taking notes and make sure that you send me a message and ask any questions that you still have about Chapter 2. So the first question says to simplify. And here we have the opposite of the absolute value of negative 78. Well, we know the absolute value of negative 78 is positive 78. And the opposite of 78 is negative 78. So whenever we have that minus sign on the outside of our absolute value bars, that's when our answer is negative. Then we have to find the quotient when 6b divided by negative 2 times c, where b equals 4 and c equals negative 3. So 6 times b is 4. Divided by negative 2 times negative 3. And then first I have to do these multiplications. So 6 times 4 is 24. Divided by negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 24 divided by 6 is 4. Use a number line to order the numbers from least to greatest. So if I think about, let's say I put 0 over here. I want to find my negative number that's furthest from 0. So my number that's furthest from 0 is negative 85. So I know that's going to go way over. And then after negative 85, I have negative 60. And then I have negative 6. Then looking at my positives, my number closest to 0 would be 40. Then I have 42. Then I have 98. So then in order from least to greatest, I'll do my coordinates here. We have negative 85, negative 60, negative 6, 40, 42, and 98. So again, a really easy way to see them from least to greatest. And then I always want to double check that I have the same amount of numbers that I started with. So I started with 6, I ended with 6, which means we're good. This next problem says to find the mean of the data. Remember, to find the mean, we add up all our numbers and then divide by how many there are. So we're just going to add up negative 2 plus 5 plus negative 6 plus 7 plus negative 9. Then I want to look to see if there's anything that can cancel each other out, those additive inverses. And in this case, there isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first add together my positives. 5 plus 7, which is 12. And then I'm going to add my negatives. So plus negative 2 plus negative 6, same sign, add and keep. So we get negative 8 plus negative 9. Then I still have those two negatives, so I'm going to add those together, same sign, add and keep. 9 plus 8 is 17, and I keep the negative sign. So now I have 12 plus negative 17. Well, when we have different signs, we subtract. So I take 17 minus 12, which is 5, and then I keep the sign of the larger absolute value. In this case, it's negative 17, so my answer is negative 5. I'm not done yet, though. I have to find the mean, which means I have to divide by how many numbers there are. So I take negative 5 divided by 5, and I get a mean of negative 1. This one says find the sum or difference. So here we have subtraction. Whenever we have subtraction, we have to add up left to right 2 marks. So now we have negative 44 plus 29. They have different signs, so I have to subtract 44 minus 29. 44 minus 29 gives me 15. And then I keep the sign of the larger absolute value. Negative 44 has a larger absolute value, and it's negative, so my answer is negative 15. This says evaluate the expression when g is negative 2 and h is negative 3. So I have negative 4 times g is negative 2 times h is negative 3. So I can just start with multiplication, -4 times -2. Remember, a negative times a negative is positive. 4 times 2 is 8. And then I have 8 times -3. Positive times a negative is a negative, and 8 times 3 is 24. So I get an answer of -24. Then we have to find the value of this expression. I have subtraction, so I'm going to add up left to right, 2 marks. Then I have 11 plus 4 plus -3. I'm going to add these, 11 plus 4, so I get 15 plus -3. They have different signs, so I subtract 15 minus 3, which is 12, and it's going to be positive 12 since 15 has a larger absolute value. Complete the statement using less than or greater than. So -47 and -41. -47 is further from 0, which makes it less than -41. Since -41 is closer to 0, it's greater than -47. Then we have to simplify. The absolute value of -16 is positive 16 minus the absolute value of -12 is 12. 16 minus 12 is 4. Then we have to find the product or quotient. In this case, it's quotient since we're dividing. A negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 90 divided by 15 is 6. So we have -6. Then we have to find the sum here. So we have 37 plus -92. They have different signs, so we subtract their absolute values. We take 92 minus 37, and we get 57. Then I keep the sign of the larger absolute value. In this case, -92 is way larger of an absolute value, and it's a negative number, so we have -57 as our answer. Not 7. Sorry, I was just like, whoa, that does not look right. 12 minus 7 is not 7. It is 5. It should be -55. You're not here to yell at me. Find the product or quotient. In this case, it's quotient since we're dividing. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 52 divided by 13 is 4. So I get positive 4. Okay, then we have to find the product of this. So it's all multiplication, so we can start with whatever we want. -2 times 4. A negative times a positive is negative. 2 times 4 is 8, so I have -8 times -5x. Then a negative times a negative is a positive, and 8 times 5x is just 40x. And there's our answer. Then we have to find the sum here, same sign, add and keep. So I'm going to add together 41 plus 78, and I get 119, and I keep the sign. So it's -119. A hot air balloon starts at a height of 110 feet. It then rises 108 feet, followed by a drop of 66 feet. What is the height of the balloon? So it starts at a positive 110 feet, and then it rises 108. That word rises means addition, so plus 108, and when we add those together, we get 218. And then it drops 66. Drops, we're going to take away 66 feet. And then 218 minus 66 leaves me with 52. So the balloon is at 152 52 feet. And then you see there, I just caught my error. I said 52, but then I looked at my numbers, 218 minus 66. 52 would be way too small. So make sure you're just double checking your answers. Just do a quick check in your head. And then also make sure that you are writing sentences or adding labels on the test, wherever it asks you to. So this one says, name the type of transformation shown and describe it using coordinate notation. So in this transformation, we're taking it from one place and we're sliding it to another. When we slide from one to another, that's called a translation. And then our coordinate notation, we start with x, y. And then, so our image is the one with the prime mark. So we know that that gray shape is our image. So we start with point A on our original. And this is going to be x, and then we have to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So x plus 7 since we went to the right. And then y, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Y plus 11, since we're going up 11. And there's our coordinate notation. Remember, if you go left or down, that's when you use minus. All right, we're almost done. This one says graph ABC with vertices A, B, and C, then graph its reflection over the x-axis. List the coordinates of the image. So I'm first going to graph our triangle and label my vertices. And then I have to reflect it over the x-axis. So remember, coordinate notation for reflection over the x-axis would be we keep our x value and we change our y value. We take the opposite. So every point would be x and then the opposite of y. So for A prime, we keep our x of 2, and then the opposite of -1 is +1. For B prime, we keep our x value of -2 and take the opposite of -3, which is 3. And for C prime, we keep our x value of 0 and take the opposite of -1, which is +1. And then I'm going to plot these points. So A prime is at 2, 1. B prime is at -2, 3. Make sure you're labeling. And then C prime is at 0, 1. And then a good way to double check here is just to think, if we folded this in half on the x-axis, would it line up? And in this case, yes, it would. This problem says to evaluate when A is -3, B is 4, and C is -6. So C is -6 minus A is -3 minus B is 4. So now where I have subtraction, I'm going to add up. Add up, left to right, 2 marks. And then I'm also going to do the same with the second subtraction. I'm going to add up. Now we have -6 plus 3 plus -4. So I'm going to combine my two negatives, same sign, add and keep. So I get -10 plus 3. These have different signs, so I'm going to subtract 10 minus 3, which is 7. And then -10 has a larger absolute value, so I know that my answer is negative. And then lastly, simplify the absolute value of -756. Well, the absolute value of -756 is 700.